Hello again, friends. Welcome into Gamecock Central Radio. Breaking news today, the Gamecocks have picked up their 9th verbal commitment for 2017, and it comes from Wren High School quarterback Jay Urich. Emerson Phillips with you today on Gamecock Central Radio, and Wes Mitchell joins us to talk about it. Wes is in the Piedmont region of South Carolina right now to cover this story. Wes, what's the latest?
Yeah, Jay Urich announces his commitment to South Carolina. Not really a huge surprise, but something that where South Carolina has sort of made Jay their priority at quarterback here the last, maybe month or so. But even before that, they were really working hard, recruiting hard, offered him in April. That was an offer he's been wanting. Duke sort of came in a little bit there late, actually offered him after he decided to announce a decision on Friday. He made the announcement Monday that he was going to make his decision on Friday. Duke offered shortly after that, but the Gamecocks, I think, get a good one in Jay Urich.
Jay Urich, 6'4", 198 pounds, three-star quarterback out of Wren High School, announcing during a 3:30 press conference today that he will commit to the University of South Carolina for football for next year. Wes, you mentioned Duke came in late. The Roper brothers, Kurt works for South Carolina. His brother works for Duke. They both obviously like Jay Urich. What do you think were the deciding factors for Jay Urich to choose South Carolina over Duke, and what were some of the overriding factors?
Yeah, I think it ultimately came down to relationships. That's something that he had mentioned to me from the very beginning was going to be a big factor for his recruiting process. It was going to be his relationship with the coaches that were recruiting him. I look at Kurt Roper, who did just an outstanding job with Jay and sort of navigating the recruiting process. They had offered some other quarterbacks before they offered Jay, but really stayed in constant contact with him regardless and kept telling him, an offer is possible, They probably have recruited harder than maybe every other school combined. I think if you look at this current staff and you look at the old staff, which is recruiting him hard as well. Even Brian Turk, who is one of the offensive recruiting guys, is someone that Jay has mentioned multiple times that he's really sort of connected with and developed a good relationship there in the South Carolina football office. So, I think that you look at just sort of how the South Carolina staff has remained honest with Jay Urich throughout the process. They have made him a priority throughout the process. Even when they hadn't offered, they kept him very much in the know about how they felt about him, about how they saw his improvement playing out as far as they were concerned. And ultimately, I think it's those relationships that are the reason that he put on that he went with the Gamecocks today.
Wren quarterback Jay Urich commits to the Gamecocks today at a press conference that took place at 3:30 this afternoon. So we got breaking news here on Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips with Wes Mitchell. You can download the Gamecock Central Radio app on the App Store and on Google Play. To subscribe to the podcast, search for Gamecock Central Radio on iTunes, SoundCloud, and other popular services, or visit radio.GamecockCentral.com. Wes, the Gamecock quarterback situation suddenly is crowded now with Nunez, McElwain, Bentley coming in. How do you think Jay Urich might fit in? I know it's difficult to speculate what his role might be, 2 or 3 years from now, but how do you think he might be able to contribute? How does he fit in?
I think a crowded quarterback sort of backfield is what you want. If it's not crowded, you probably have done something wrong in the recruiting process. You want constant competition. You want guys coming in, pushing everybody else. And, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that, with the two guys coming in for 2016, it sort of maybe pushes back the timetable for Jay to get on the field. But, at the same time, this is a kid that's not played a ton of quarterbacks. He's not one of these guys who's been groomed to be a quarterback, from day one. I think he's played maybe 3 years of quarterback. He's more of sort of an athlete before that could play a number of positions. He's a track guy, sort of has just started to come into his own as an actual quarterback prospect. Has worked with Ramon Robinson as private quarterback coach. He's a pretty well-known guy now in the state of South Carolina as far as developing guys. Worked with Kelly Bryant there at Wren as well, who's Clemson's backup quarterback. So, I think that Jay's best ball is very much ahead of future. So it sort of allows him to, I think, come along at his own pace. He can come in, redshirt if needed, learn the offense, and he can come along at a pace and play when he's ready versus being someone that is going to be counted on to play right away. You know, he's a kid that obviously was not as highly recruited as some of the other guys on South Carolina campus. So, you know, you look at some of the schools that were after him. Duke obviously did offer. Tennessee was very close. NC State was very, very close. And he's really a kid that's made a big jump this offseason. If you were able to watch his workout throwing, from what I've heard, this time this year compared to this time last year, you would see that he's made a big jump. You know, South Carolina went down, watched him play, or watched him throw, and offered within 24 hours. So, you know, I think it's a situation where, he's just a raw player. Most quarterbacks have been playing that position their entire lives and sort of in a position where they've been groomed to be a quarterback. He's a little bit more, like a Connor Shaw, where Shaw played receiver most of his career before that, and sort of was still learning as he went by the time he became a high school starting quarterback. So, you know what, I think that Urich is going to be in a position to really put up some big numbers in his senior year of high school as well.
It's interesting how these young players can blossom. You know, you talked about the fact that he hadn't had a tremendous amount of experience playing quarterback. Did start last year for Wren, but he'll get one more year of high school ball. And, these young players, Wes, they can take to a position like a fish to water. And that may be the case with Jay Urich. We'll have to wait and see. But great news for Gamecock Nation today as Jay Urich becomes the newest member of the Gamecock football family. Wes, thanks for the update today.
Sounds good, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, that's Wes Mitchell. Safe travels back to Columbia. Wes, he's in Piedmont today covering Wren quarterback Jay Urich's announcement that he has committed to the University of South Carolina. And this is Gamecock Central Radio. For Wes Mitchell, I'm Emerson Phillips. Thanks for joining us.